Special good morning to the mainland Grenada, our sister isles of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Good morning. Welcome to another edition of To The Point. I'm your host, GT. I'll be with you until it's 10 a.m. this morning. Welcome. Let me say good morning to our listeners. Those of you via Classic 105.5, Classic 105.9, whatever part of the island you are on the mainland Grenada and our sister isles. Those of you viewing GBN TV, Channel 7, Channel 11 or Channels 20, good morning and welcome. Also to our social media platforms, whether you on our Facebook page, the YouTube channels, good morning. Those of you via GBN's webpage, also good morning. I'm told I don't shout you folks out enough, especially those of you via the GBN webpage. I'll told by someone, that's where I view most of the time. So welcome to another edition of To The Point. This morning, with me, we have Sergeant Ryan Smith from the Traffic Department. Good morning to you, Sergeant Smith. How are you this morning?
Yes, pleasant morning to you and pleasant morning to the listening and viewing public.
All right. Welcome back once again to The Point. So, on Thursdays, folks, we do entertain various departments of the Royal Grenada Police Force. And as I mentioned, we have the Traffic Department this morning, and we have Sergeant Smith sitting in this morning with me. Our key focus this morning will be on driver's license. And, sometimes it's always something that folks would like to know that the entire process from when it starts. So that's what we're going to kick it off this morning in terms of it starts. Now, I am an individual, a youngster, got out of school, reached at the appropriate age. He decides, well, I think I want to learn to drive. You understand? Okay. I want to learn to drive. Now, there's a process before that starts from the traffic department point of view.
Yes. Well, first of all, I just want to start by saying that being granted a driving license, it is not a right. It is a privilege, all right, that is granted to you, and that privilege can be taken away at any time once the court realizes that your behavior, all right, your behavior of the road is not that of a prudent driver. All right, so the process begins by obtaining a learner's permit. All right. Now, to obtain a learner's permit, you must present at the Inland Revenue Department. You must present a national ID card, some form of identification in the terms of a passport, your national ID card, or your NIS card. That is to determine your age and to ascertain your name, because there are a lot of persons who have the same name, but the middle initial will help us in determining who you are, who you really are. All right, so you must present that together with a medical, all right, a medical from a general practitioner.
And that has to be in terms of the order that in order for you to get that learner's permit.
In order for you to be able to obtain that learner's permit or to purchase that learner's permit.
All right.
All right, so that must be presented at the Inland Revenue Department. And what we have been experiencing at the center lately, at the License and Inspection Center lately, is that persons are presenting medicals from persons from an eye clinic or an eye specialist. All right, but what the law requires that someone must produce a medical which shows that the person's vision, hearing, any other physical fitness and mental fitness is adequate for that person to hold a driving license.
So basically you need an overall medical.
Yes, you need a medical.
Maybe not a full medical, but basically a medical that say that you have the physical ability, vision is okay, your hearing, your physical ability to drive and so forth is at a point that it's okay. medically.
Yes, that is so. All right. So you must present that sort of medical. So in other words, you are required to visit a general practitioner.
Okay.
All right, to and get that proper medical, because we had to turn away persons with such medical. All right, so that person must present.
That's kind of where you go into an eye specialist. You just, hey, I can see, so I can drive.
yes, but it requires more than that, because, for example, someone who is suffering from epilepsy. All right, so, all right, just imagine that person driving and going through a fit. That person cannot hear. How do you hear the honking of the horns? Because driving requires the use of the five senses.
Yes,
all right,
yes,
the use of the five senses. So we want persons to have the proper medical, so that we can ascertain that they are medically fit to be issued a driving license or a learner's permit in that regard.
All right. So you got the medical, you go to the of course the department. I think it's Ministry of Finance. That's where you go.
Yes.
And you pay the relevant fees.
Yes, you pay. Learner's permit costs $50, and it's valid for 6 months.
6 months.
Yes. So the learner's permit is valid for 6 months, and you pay a fee of $50.
All right.
At the Inland Revenue Department.
Now, what does that qualifies you as an individual having a learner's permit? What does that qualifies you to do?
Well, it qualifies you, or it gives you the opportunity to utilize our road for training purposes or for practice purposes.
Yeah.
All right, but the practice purposes comes with a requirement, and the requirement is that that individual must be under the supervision of a person who holds a driving license for that class of vehicle for not less than 3 years. All right, and that person must be in that vehicle with that individual every time practice is being performed. Also, that there must be an L affixed to that vehicle in a conspicuous position to the front and rear of that vehicle. The L must be in red and a white background.
Okay.
All right. The law also goes further to say that persons who, in terms of the liability, all right, of persons is coextensive, in the sense that both persons are liable for any offense that is committed while that person is being tutored.
All right. So it's in case of an accident.
In the case of an accident,
the tutor is responsible as well as the person who's learning to drive.
As well as the person who is learning to drive.
Okay.
So both persons are liable for any offense that is committed during that time.
All right, that's an interesting fact there. Now, can anyone who possesses a license, as you said, after more than 3 years, teach someone to drive, or that someone has to be a specific tutor or been teaching people to drive for a particular time? I decide, well, I've been driving for a while now, maybe I can teach my son to drive. Is that something that's permitted?
Yes. What the law requires is that the person must have no less than 3 years driving experience. All right, and that's the way it is. But what we are trying to do as an organization is to ensure that persons who put up themselves or offer themselves to be tutors are trained in defensive driving, in defensive driving, and so on, so they can impart to the learner that experience. So then we will have more responsible drivers on our roads.
All right, let's get into the restriction part that comes along with this, with the learner's permit. Those are the restrictions. Let's focus a bit on restrictions.
Well, the restriction is that person must be under the supervision of a person who has a driving license for that class and description of the vehicle, meaning the class of the vehicle. For example, you're going to need a D-class driving license to drive a pickup, so that person must have a D-class driving license to teach someone to learn to drive a pickup. Right. And that person must always be in the vehicle while that training is being performed. All right, and also the restriction is that once a learner's permit is issued to that individual, there is a time span in which that person can utilize our road, and the time span is between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. daily.
All right,
daily. So these are the restriction.
Okay, Okay. Now let's get into the offenses that can occur with someone driving with a learner's license, not having the appropriate person who are teaching them. What are the offenses that can occur to that individual?
Well,
Or offenses that will be committing.
Well, those offenses that can be committed is, for example, you can meet in a motor vehicle accident, driving to a juke attention. You can run the traffic light. You can fail to wear your seat belt. Violate any traffic law can happen once you're on the road. You can violate any traffic law. Hence the reason why there are some. Hence the reason why there are some driving instructors' duties, and I will just want to list them. All right. The driving instructors need to ensure that the students take adequate time, all right, to learn and master the driving skills. Now, people have different abilities, so I might have to take 15 classes, all right, to reach a position where I can be presented to the examiners of the license centers to determine whether or not I am competent. All right, so hence the reason now that instructor must be at that level to know when that person is ready to be presented.
They're satisfied with the training that
yes,
they're presented.
satisfied with the training, yes. So that person can be presented, because we have had cases where persons are being presented, all right, and the person is not ready based on the performance that you get from that person. The person is not ready. And you will hear sometimes the instructor will say, I'm telling me he's not ready, but he's telling me he's ready. So we do not want the instructors to let the students tell them when they are ready, but they must know when the student is ready to present them, because that person could be a risk, all right, to other persons using the road, as well as those persons in the vehicle at the time when the examination is being conducted. All right, they need to educate the students on safe driving habits. Safe driving habits. Do not use your cell phone. Do not eat while you are driving. Do not have excessive conversation when you're driving. You shouldn't drive with slippers, because that slippers could at any time entangle into one of the pedals, and then you cannot activate the pedals properly to ensure that that vehicle comes to an halt. Also, they encourage students to practice the driving skills, all right, and to practice it regularly, because you need to be consistent, all right, in your practice to ensure that your skill level develop to an adequate level. And we say so because you will see persons coming off a license, and probably in the next month or so the person would not practice, and they will just present themselves. But when you present yourself, your skills are dull.
So
all right, so the consistency will help you to sharpen your skills, all right, and also to develop an efficient training process. All right, you need to develop a process for your students, all right, to ensure that that person develop in an acceptable way, all right, in an acceptable way. Also, to maintain a safe and healthy driving environment. So these are the things that we want our driving instructors to really focus on, to focus on when they are dealing with students.
No, an instructor. What is also the responsibility of an instructor when they are teaching someone to drive?
Well, the responsibilities is to ensure that the students is conversant, to ensure, because that is what we are going to be looking for, to ensure that the students is conversant with the rules of the road, all right, road signs, road signals, and to ensure that the students can drive without causing danger, all right, to persons in the vehicle as well as persons using the road, and to drive with reasonable consideration for other road users. For example, are we courteous? You coming from a minor into a major road, you will realize 25 vehicles pass and none will stop to let you out. All right. When do you honk your horn? You coming around a corner, you honk your horn. You see a danger, you honk your horn. You know how to use the road lanes. When do I change road lanes? All right, you need to know how to obey the traffic light signals. All right, the different signals. What do they mean? All right, That is those things that the instructors need to concentrate on and to ensure that the students is conversant with the rules of the road. For example, you give way to traffic on the right at a roundabout. All those things are important. You need to let them know that using your cell phone while driving, is an offense. All right, failing to wear your seatbelt, because we have seen where, as an accident investigator myself, I have seen the injuries that are caused when someone failed to wear their seatbelt. All right. All right, so these are the things that we want the instructors to really concentrate on to ensure that we put out good drivers on our roads.
Has the traffic department is the traffic department responsible for that format that instructors supposed to follow in terms of teaching someone to drive, or is it the responsibility of just the instructor in telling them what this is the do's and don'ts of driving? Does the traffic department have a waiver that within there?
Yes, we will play a role in that from time to time. Normally we have meetings at the last Friday of every month. And what we will do as the examiners, every week, the weak areas that we identify, all right, in students, we will have a meeting with the instructors and let them know what are the weak areas that we identified when we conduct our examination. So we will let them know and know that you need to work in that area. And if it is a case where we realize that something wrong is being taught, we will brought it to the attention to ensure that corrective measures are being used to remedy the situation.
All right, interesting. We do for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, I want to focus a wee bit on the driving test. How individual and follow through on that when we come back. Let's take a break, folks. It's To The Point for today, Thursday, the 4th day of May. We'll be coming right back. Stay with us, folks.
No, girl, that was yesterday. I can't believe how they said that. She didn't.
Mom, can you help me, please? I'm having some trouble understanding.
No, you serious?
Mom, can you help me, please?
So y'all sit down and say that? Okay then, bye. Here. Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's ensure that you're well prepared for this exam.
Parents, you have a crucial role to play in helping to prepare your children for the CPEA exams. Help them or seek additional help so that they can revise the concepts they learn at school and give them a better chance to be successful and move on to the next phase of their lives. A message from the National Parenting Program, Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers. Good morning. It's To The Point for today, Thursday, the 4th day of May. This morning with us, from the Traffic Department, and we have for you Sergeant Ryan Smith with us this morning. Sergeant Smith, good morning and welcome back.
Yes, good morning.
Before the break, when we were about to take the break, I did mention I want to spend a little time focusing on the driving test. Because it's another critical part for someone obtaining a license,
Yes.
Becoming a driver. As you said, it's a privilege to order to have a driver's license. Now, the driving test. Tell us the process that individual has to go through after they go through the follow the functions of or the responsibility that was given to them from the instructor and so forth. How does the process of the driving test come about?
All right. Well, first of all, that person must do a driving exam. All right. Now, driving exams are done every Tuesday at the Trade Center from 8 to 2 p.m. Daily, every Tuesday. It is done at Victoria on the first Thursday of every month, and that is at the Victoria Pastoral Center. It is also done at St. David's Police Station on the third Friday of every month, and at the Paul's Airstrip, that is where the SSU compound, on the on the second Wednesday and last Thursday of every month. Now there is a requirement in terms of age. Now persons must be of the age of 17, but once you have the age of 17, you can write the exam, but you can only make an application to do a practical exam for a motorcycle.
Now, at 17 years old.
Yes, at 17 years of age. But you must be at the age of 18 to do the driving exams.
Okay.
Now there are some requirements that you need to present when you show up at the center to do the driving exam. We have a dress code in effect, so you must have on a long pants. All right, no slippers, no armless clothing for the ladies, no armless clothing as well. As well, and you need to have a whole shoe. Now, someone might ask, what's the reason for the whole shoe? It's just the process of teaching you what is required for driving, because you cannot show up to drive without slippers. So we just starting the process. We're starting the process early. Now you must show up at the center with a valid learner's permit, a medical from a doctor that is stamped, an identification card. You need to show up with your identification card, the passport, your NIS card, or your voter's registration ID. All right, a $30 receipt, from the Inland Revenue, and one passport size photograph. So once you do that exam, within 48 hours, the results is ready. All right, and normally if you do it, if you do it Tuesday, by the next Tuesday the results should be ready. So normally we have a 48 hours period. Also, I just want to, before I go into the examination process, I just want to highlight the different classes of driving license. All right. So we have at least 11 different classes of license. So we have the A class, which is for motorcycles. That's the two-wheelers. Then we have the A1, which is for quad bikes. All right, the four-wheelers and them that you see on the road. And then we have the A2, which is for motor scooters. All right, and we have the A2 for motor scooters. Then we have the C, all right, for commercial vehicles, which we refer to as hired vehicles, all right, our public service vehicles. Public service vehicle which has a sitting capacity of 17 passengers or less. And then we have the C1 driving license, which is for public service vehicle, for example, the bus, the coasters, all right, which has a sitting capacity of more than 17 passengers. Then we have the D class driving license, which is for commercial vehicles, and the gross weight is less than 7,000 kgs. And then we have the D class license, which is for the SL trucks and so on. All right, so those what we refer to as commercial vehicles and have a gross weight of more than 7,000 kgs. We have the E-Class driving license, which is for tractors and trailers. When we say tractors and trailer, we doesn't mean the tractor that we normally know literally. You know the bullheads that you see on the little trucks,
yes,
all right?
yes,
that pull the trailers,
so forth,
the little trucks that pull the trailers along the road, that's what we call the bullheads. And so that's the E-Classes for the tractors and trailers. And then we have the F-Class, which is for non-passenger vehicles, for example, forklift and road rollers, all right, and the excavators and so on. That F-Class license does not permit someone to drive on our road, all right. Those licenses are for construction site, a confined area. Hence the reason why you will see the bulldozers and the excavators being carried on trailers to the different sites, all right, and to carry it to the different sites and the forklift and so on, unless they are licensed for that road, all right. So these were the F classes for, and the G class is all classes, all right. Now the G class driving license will only permits you to drive all the different classes of vehicle except a motorcycle. Okay. All right, so someone who has a G-class driving license does not have the permission by law to ride a motorcycle.
It's interesting. You could drive anything else.
Yes, but besides the motorcycle. So your driving license will have to read in the class column G and A for you to be able to ride a motorcycle, as well as if you have a B class. All right, it must read B and A in order that in order that you can ride a motorcycle. So we just want persons to know about that.
All right. I wanted, as you got into the process of the different classes of license. No, there's a process I'm assuming for to obtain our license.
Yes, there is a process.
So someone moving from an A and wants to get to a B and B to C, everyone still has to go through that theoretical part of the examination again, or does it just lead to the practical exams?
Okay. Well, it doesn't just lead to the practical exam. There is a theoretical exam for the B. So there is theory for the B, there is theory for the C, and there is theory for the D. All right, there is a theoretical exam. Now at the center we have study guides for the D and for the C-class driving license. So persons can just come into the center and ask for and ask for the study guide, and we'll give them a study guide. And so once that person is ready to do the exam, that person will call and make an appointment. Now once that person shows up to the examination center to do that theoretical exam, all right, example for the C-class, that person must work with the valid driving license, the $30 receipt, one passport size photograph, and a passport size photograph. Also for the C-class, you must have 5 years driving experience in order to apply for the C-class. Now for the D-class driving license, you need to show up with a valid driving license, all right, a $30 receipt, which is the exam fee, and one passport size photograph, and you must have at least 1 year driving experience. All right, to do that, to do the theoretical exams.
All right. Now let's continue on the trail of exams for a wee bit. An individual comes out, do the driving test, or let's say the exams. Is there a past specification that someone must, or also, how many times can someone do a particular, so let's say the theory or the practical?
Yes. Once you do the theory and pass the theory, it's for life. All right. It doesn't expire. There is a 65% pass mark for the B class, and there is a 75% pass mark for the C and D class. Now, there are some persons who are not that academically inclined, if I must say. So we have a process where that person must attempt, all right, to do the written exam at least 3 times.
Okay.
All right, and the reason why we say 3 times is because we want to be in a position, it's just what we refer to as a safety net, to ensure that that person really cannot do the exam. So we will ensure that that person do the exam, we will get their scores and so on, and then we have what we refer to as an oral exam. We normally will offer an oral exam as well.
Because not everybody may be able to do the written
yes,
exam.
Everybody might not be able to pass the written exam, but you should be at a particular standard. So we will do what we refer to as an oral exam, where the questions are being asked to you, and you have to give the answer verbally.
Okay, that's understandable. Now, I did ask that question in between there. Because, sometimes I hear someone said, well, I went to get my license, I went 4, 5, 6 times, Is there a cutoff point?
No, there isn't a cutoff point.
Well, the police would say, I don't think you're capable, let's forget this.
At least we will let the person we'll let the person make that decision for themselves. But when the persons show up to the center, we'll carry out the examination with them. But it's once exam begins at 8 a.m., so we expect person to show up before 8 and register. Now, once you do the exam, all right, you are given a registration card with your photograph in it. All right, so every time you do that, every time you show up to do that exam, you have to show up with your registration card. Now, the first time that you show up to do a practical, you do not have to pay the $30 fee. All right, because you are already paid that when you did the exam. But if you fail the first practical examination, then any exam after that, you have to continue pay the $30 fee of the examination fee of $30.
Okay, So let me get that corrected. When you do the examination for the first time, the practical, the theoretical per se, for the first time, you're already qualified to do the practical.
Yes, you're already qualified to do the practical.
So you fail the practical the first time,
yes.
But when you want to return again, you have to pay.
Yes, you have to pay the $30 receipt. So every time you fail after that, you have to pay the $30 $30 fee and show up with your registration card at the center.
Okay. Folks, we drew for a break. We're coming right back. We're talking to Sergeant Ryan Smith from the Traffic Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force. We're coming right back after the break. Stay with us, folks. Don't touch your dial.
Customers and experts have tested Dormer's high-impact windows and realized just how durable they are. Forget burglar proofing. Get 20 years warranty on frames, sea blast resistance, no rust or corrosion, and value for your money. Visit Caribbean Shutters, Windows and Doors for Dormer's quality UPVC solutions.
Do you know, when you play the games of the National Lotteries Authority, you are supporting sports, culture, and nation building in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit-Martinique?
Hi, I am Junior Murray, cricket coach, sports enthusiast, and a former West Indies cricketer. I endorse the games of the NLA 100%. For the past 40 years, the NLA has been funding many sporting activities, including competition for schools and clubs, and for athletes to participate in overseas tournaments such as the Carifta Games and regional cricket tournaments. Additionally, they made it possible for you, the public, to view local, regional, and international tournaments from the comfort of your homes. For those reasons, I play the game of the NLA. Even if I do not win, I know Grenada always wins. Yes, when you play all the games, the NLA in turn supports sports, culture, and nation-building activities throughout the Tri-Island state.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers. Once again, it's to the point for today. It's Thursday, the 4th day of May. Once again, welcome back, Sergeant Ryan. I want to continue on the line that we were speaking about in terms of the driving examination or the driving test, especially the practical part of it. What is the process of the driving examination, the practical? Give us just a small hint in terms of what individuals need to go through. Someone may be sitting and thinking, no, this is what I need to do when I come out to do my driving examination. So if you can enlighten us a wee bit in terms of how the process goes.
Okay. Once that individual call the department and make an appointment and they are given a date in which they should do their practical examination, and that person shows up at the License and Inspection Center, that person will have to go to the secretary and have themselves registered. In that, their names will be posted on will be posted on a list. All right, to ensure that they are registered. All right. The other part is that those persons will be briefed. In other words, they will be told what is required of them, or what the examiners expect from them on the road. All right, and then we will call out the names. So the names will be called according to the order in which those persons register, and then we will start the examination. And then we will start the examination process where we will enter the motor vehicle and begin the exam.
All right. So that's basically it.
Yes.
But the process. What is? Give us a little bit details of the driving exam itself, if you can. What are the do's and don'ts that what do the individuals need to do in terms of the driving, and what does the officer look for when they do an examination?
So what the examiners will be looking for, we expect the persons to make their hand signals. All right, we need them to make their hand signals as well as to use their electronic indicators. We expect that person to drive in accordance with the rules of the road. Drive in accordance with the rules of the road and the laws of Grenada. All right, we expect that person, if that vehicle is of a manual transmission, that person must show that they can use the gears in the vehicle. So there must be a smooth transition from gear number 1, gear number 2, and gear number 3, as the case may be. So there shouldn't be any bobbing of the heads. All right, no bobbing of the heads and so on. Also, proper gear use is warranted. For example, you don't expect somebody to moving from gear number 1 straight to gear number 4 or gear number 3. All right, or someone driving at 10 miles per hour and you see they ending up in 5th gear and so on. So proper gear use is also important. If the vehicle is of an automatic transmission, that person must know how to use that gear lever. So that person, when you ask that person to reverse, that person would not put that vehicle in drive. All right. You need to know that you need to see that person exercise the rules of the road. For example, at an intersection, approaching an intersection, what do? You make your hand signals, you slow down the vehicle, and if you are coming from a minor and entering a major, we expect you to stop. All right, we expect you to know how to use the roundabout. What do you do when you're approaching a pedestrian crossing? And all those things will be included in the route that we take. For example, the performance of a hill start. All right. How do you coordinate your handbrake and your clutch to ensure that the vehicle travel in the direction that you intended to travel as well? So we need to see all those things on the day in question from that individual. How do you stop your vehicle? How do you park your vehicle? How do you leave off? Do you make your hand signal? Do you make your final check before you leave the? Can you use your mirrors? All right. What can you reverse properly? All those things are being look at. Also, the ability to perform a 3-point turn and a 2-point turn, you need to show competency in those areas to ensure that you can be successful in your driving examination.
Well, I mean, I guess most of that, what you said, is left up to the instructor at the time of learning to drive. Because those are the things that the instructor should have make sure that you have proper control of the vehicle, be able to, the proper changing of the gears, as you mentioned, keeping within your speed limits and so forth. I've done that a couple of years ago.
And even
it's been a long time I've done that, but I think I still remember.
Yeah, and even with the manual vehicle, during the examination, you are allowed 3 cutoffs. So if the vehicle cut off a 4 time, we consider that as a failure. Yeah, so you just cannot be cutting off along the route and so on.
But sometimes at least individual being nervous.
Yes, we know that.
At least nervous at the time. Maybe okay with the instructor, but then when the police comes in, it's not everybody has that way of controlling themselves at that time. So that's understandable. Now we want to change the conversation a wee bit and get into the let's talk about suspension of license. How does someone get into those problems? What are the things that an individual can do that leads to them, getting a suspension of their license, the demerit point system, how does that work and so forth? Tell us about that in this segment. And so also we're going to give an option for you listeners and viewers out there to give us a call if you do have a question or two that relates to what we've been speaking about, from the traffic department licensing and the responsibilities and so forth. If you do have a question or two, feel free to call within this segment, please.
No, it is enacted in Section 50 of the Road Traffic Act. All right, a demerit point system. Now, the merit point system works by where points are given, or points are awarded to an individual or an individual driving license. All right, once that person commits a violation of the law in terms of traffic offenses. How does that work? Once someone get a fixed penalty ticket, all right, that person has an option to pay that fixed penalty ticket. Now, once that fixed penalty ticket is being paid, no points will be awarded against that person driving license. However, there is a twist to that. Because you do not want somebody every time somebody just committing the same offense over and over and they get in a ticket and then
all they do the pay.
Yes, all they do the pay and then no points have been added to that person and that person driving license is not being suspended. But there is a twist to it. The police has the right to though the law requires that every time somebody commits a traffic offense that is ticketable, the police officer must issue a fixed penalty ticket to that person. But there is a twist to it, where we can decide to just take that person straight to the court. And the twist is the frequency in which the person commits that offense. All right, the frequency in which that person commits the offense.
So let's say I'm getting a ticket for seatbelt 4 times a month. That could lead to me accumulating demerit points.
Yeah, yes. If you're getting a ticket 4 times a month, that would not just lead you to getting demerit points. All right, once you pay those tickets. But if the officer realizes that every time you're failing to wear your seatbelt, and every time he have to give you a ticket over and over, then he can decide to just take you straight to court.
Okay.
All right. So now, once that matter is taken to the court and a conviction is recorded against your name, then the demerit points will be awarded to your driving license. So there must be a conviction.
All right. So that's where that little twist comes into.
Yes, that's where the twist comes in. So there must be a conviction added to your name. Also, the attitude of the person at the time when the offense is being committed, the attitude towards the officer in terms of the behavior and so on, and other offenses could also be committed. So this is how the demerit point system work. Also, once somebody appeal a conviction, all right, then the demerit points system demerit points will not be added to that person driving license unless there comes a conclusion as to the appeal. Our conviction is being given, our decision is being made from that appeal. The other thing with the demerit point system, though, is if, for instance, let's say in one circumstance 5 offenses have been committed, and that person are being charged with, let's say, 5 offenses. With the demerit point system, what would happen is that the persons that is responsible for awarding that points, all right, will look at the offense that carry the most amount of points and use that particular offense to award the points. Okay. So if it's 5 offenses, and then the 5 offenses come up to 10 points. All right, and there is one offense in particular that has 5 points, then we will just go with the one that have the 5 points. 5 points, and awarded that 5 points against that person driving license.
Okay, interesting. 435-2041, 435-2041. If you do have a question or two that you'd like to ask the officer this morning, feel free to do so here on To The Point this morning. We have the traffic department, Sergeant Ryan, with us. We're talking this morning, some of our talking points was basically, we focus on the, restrictions, offenses, learner's permit, etc. Let's entertain our first caller. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Hello, good morning. There's a question I want to ask concerning the driving instructor and the student. Now, if I heard right, the officer said it is an accident that both are responsible. My question is that a car that is designed for teaching should have a dual control. So if the student is going to go into an accident, then the instructor would stop it. If the instructor fails, then he is responsible. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution there. Any response to the caller?
Yes, caller. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as to whether or not the instructor stopped the car. Accidents do happen, but once they do happen, both parties are responsible. All right, they are what we refer to as pedals are being affixed to the passenger side of the vehicle, where the instructor will normally sit, so the instructor can actually stop that vehicle or prevent it from being in an accident. But things do happen. So once an accident do happen, both parties are liable, or both parties are chargeable.
All right. Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. Calling to get 2 pieces of information. The officer mentioned that someone can have a driver's license at the age of 18. If the person needs to get a learner's permit, are they allowed to have the learner's permit at 17 if they're going to be turning 18 the same year? So they get the learner's permit at 17, they practice, and then they do the exam at 18? No, that's the first question. And the second question is, where can persons purchase the highway code booklets locally? Thank you.
Thank you also, caller.
The highway code can be purchased at the Inland Revenue Department. Now, in terms of the learner's permit, yes, you can get a learner's permit at 17. All right, you can do the exam at 17, but you can only attempt the practical exams for a motorcycle. So you would only be able to get a learner's permit at age 17 if your intention is to ride a motorcycle. Okay. All right, but once you decide to drive, the learner's permit will only be issued to you at the age of 18.
Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Morning, gentlemen. Two questions. When a person is learning, if they meet in an accident, would their learner's permit be revoked? Two, you talk about having a certain class of license or the different classes of license along with the bike, the riders of a bike who cannot, even if you have the highest level class as far as I understand it, you still have to get a bike license. Now, at the same time, do you do bike licensing, bike exams, and I mean the practical aspect of it, on the same day that you do other vehicle exams, other driving vehicle exams? So that when a person goes to do their driving vehicle exam, if they're interested in getting a bike practical too, would they be able to get two of them at the same time so that they don't have to come back a next time and pay us a whole set of different money? Do you understand the question?
Thank you, caller. I think I understand where the caller is coming from.
Yes, caller. We do not do two exams at the same time. All right? But you will have to pay two different fees because you are doing two different exams. All right, you are doing a practical for the motorcycle and you're doing a practical for the B class. All right, so these are two different exams. All right, so you will have to pay the fee of $30 for each of the exam, and we do not do two exams on the same day. We do one exam at a time.
All right. 435-2041 if you do have a question or two, and let me take a peek at our social media platform. Let me see if anyone is asking a question there. And I've not seen anyone asking any question that is needed there for no. Now, let's take this caller before a question that came to mind, but let's entertain this caller first. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Yes, good morning. I don't know if this is part of the highway code. What I've noticed nowadays, most drivers, like I say all drivers, sometimes you're walking, they're not tooting their horn. And sometimes you look back and you see a vehicle behind your back. They're not tooting the horn. I don't know if that's a style or what.
And caller? Oh, well, I don't think it's a style, but
no. But thank you for your observation. Is one of the weaknesses that we have observed at the center with the where drivers fail to use the horns. For example, the driver would see somebody going across the road, and the purpose of the horn is to be used as a warning device. You need to let the person know that you are coming in advance. So hence the reason why you should toot your horn.
All right. Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, GT, and now good morning to your guests. I'm asking a question because I would like the constable to explain the difference between a major and a minor road. And the reason for this is because years ago I was on a bus. I was sitting in the front, and that bus came down St. Jude Street. I think that is street coming down from right opposite the terminal. And he did not stop. He drove to the cross, and a lady was coming from the other side coming up, and she had to slam her brake to avoid hitting the bus. So I said to the driver, You coming from a minor road to a major, you're supposed to stop. And he said there are no minor roads in Grenada. All the roads in Grenada are major. So I would like this company to explain the difference between a major and a minor road, please. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your question there.
All right, to put it in simple form, the major roads are what we refer to as the main road. All right, and the minor roads are the roads that village roads and so on that are joins the main road. All right. So, for example, it's just like a river. The minor roads are what we refer to as the tributaries, and the major road is the river itself, the big river itself.
All right. I mean that's practically understandable. The main roads, and if you have the inroads that leads to
that leads to the villages and so
forth, you could consider that as minor roads. Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Yeah, I would like to talk about something on the radio with the police officer.
Caller, go right ahead. You are live. Go right ahead with your question, please. Caller, you can go right ahead with your question. Good morning.
Okay. Yes. Yesterday I was driving down, going to Granans, and there's a gentleman was doing an exam, and the police officer was sitting next to the driver.
Caller, for some reason you're being distracted. Maybe you have a radio on in the background or your television. Would you turn them off so that you would not be distracted, please?
Okay, I'll turn it off.
Go right ahead.
Yeah. And the one who doing the exam had one hand hanging outside the vehicle, and the police was right next to him, and they was just chatting. And I was wondering what's going on, because they have the police is sitting down next to the driver, and he's doing an exam, and like two friends were just quoting going down the road, and I was behind them. And I said, I wonder why the police officer he's supposed to have his both hands on the wheel, and he didn't have his both hands on the wheel.
Okay, caller. Okay. Well, I'm not sure. Maybe it could have been the instructor driving.
Well, caller. Thanks for your observation. You are correct in saying that the driver should have both hands on the wheel. So probably something that we need to look into and ensure that we don't let up on our guard.
All right. Hey, folks, we got 10 minutes moving on before the top of the hour this morning here on To The Point. Let's take another caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Hello, good morning.
Good.
What I have to say, I find that they have to lessen down from giving those young boys and girls license, because they don't know nothing about how to behave themselves. And I find as if the parents must put their knees down and bruise their knee and pray for these children that are raining nowadays. Because they don't even listen to their own parents. Stop giving them the license because they can't drive. They don't want to listen and they don't want to take care on the road. Stop giving them the license. So when they hand out license, they can't drive.
All right, thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution there this morning. I'm not sure how you could answer that, officer, but I'm not sure if that could be answered.
Well, thanks for your contribution anyway, Carl.
All right. Hey, folks, let's take a break. We come back and we come into the wrapping up stages of today's program. Let's take a break and we're coming right back. Stay with us here on To The Point. We're coming right back, folks.
Records at the traffic department shows that a total of 1,447 accidents were reported for the year 2012, which includes 3 road fatalities. 2,946 accidents were reported for the year 2022, which includes 8 road fatalities. This is a significant increase of 104%. This is alarming.
I'll tell you, master, I'm a radar. Girl, I'm a radar. I don't care now. Jump up in the area, pull up in a ranger. They wanna who's a stranger. I don't care now. I don't care about the neighbor.
When a family tragically loses a loved one, does it matter whether by means of a gun or a motor vehicle? To avoid accidents, drivers and pedestrians alike must exercise extreme caution when using the road.
Welcome back to our listeners and viewers once again. Good morning. It's To The Point. Sergeant Ryan, we spent a lot of time this morning. We talk a lot about driver's license, the procedures and so forth that you individuals need to go through. We talk about the driving tests. We talk about, suspensions of your license, the demerit point system and so forth. Like, if you want to make a recap in terms of the song we talk about this morning and before we take a wrap for today.
Yes, we just want persons to follow the rules in terms of the learner's permit. You must ensure that you visit a general practitioner, which would emphasize whether your hearing, your vision, your physical fitness or mental fitness is adequate to ensure that you can obtain a learner's permit as well as a driving license. We normally do exams on every Tuesday of every week at the Trade Center, which begins at 8 and concludes at 2 p.m. We want persons to adhere to our dress code: no short pants, no sleeveless clothing or slippers or so on. And you need to show up at the center with a valid learner's permit, a medical, your $30 receipt, one passport size photograph, some means of identification, your passport, your national ID, your national voter's ID, or your NIS card.
All right. So, folks, that's what we're going to take a wrap for today, Sergeant Ryan. Thank you once again for coming by and explaining, of course, the process that we spoke about this morning. Pleasure having you. Thanks again to all our listeners and viewers, those of you who did call in, ask your questions. We want to thank you also, those of you who via our social media platforms didn't get much questions in from the social media platform this morning. Some of the questions that were asked, we did answer them already. Probably you missed the earlier segment of the conversation. So until next week, when we do have another department of the Royal Grenada Police Force popping by, thanks once again. Sergeant Ryan, thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Hey, folks, that's where we say goodbye for this edition of To The Point. Until then, have yourself a good one. Be good to yourself and others.